The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Admiral Koss of the Rextari Empire rose from his seat, his forearms gesturing dismissively toward the human delegation. The reptilian commander's scales gleamed under the chamber's harsh lighting as he addressed the assembly with barely concealed contempt. "The humans speak of equality," Koss hissed, his forked tongue flicking between words. "Yet they send their females to negotiate matters of war and peace. How can we take seriously a species that allows their weaker gender to speak for them?" Captain Maria Rodriguez remained seated, her expression unchanged despite the insult. Beside, her ambassador Lisa Thompson continued reviewing her datapad, as if the Rextari's words were mere background noise. The third member of their delegation, General Kate Morrison, simply smiled, an expression that would have chilled anyone familiar with human military history. The chamber erupted in various alien languages as representatives from dozens of species began discussing the Rextari's challenge. The blue-skinned Volari whispered among themselves, their large eyes darting between the humans and the reptilian admiral. The crystalline Zorith remained motionless, their translucent forms refracting the chamber's light into rainbow patterns. "Ambassador," Thompson finally looked up from her datapad, her voice calm and professional. "Admiral Koss, we appreciate your concerns about our delegation's composition. Perhaps you'd prefer a more traditional demonstration of capability?" The Rextari Admiral's vertical pupils contracted with satisfaction. "Indeed. Let us settle this, as civilized species do, through combat trials. Your finest warriors against ours." General Morrison stood slowly, her gray hair pulled back in a regulation bun that had seen decades of military service. "Admiral, I accept your challenge. However, I propose we make this interesting. A series of trials, physical, tactical, and technological. Winner takes all." "And the stakes?" Koss demanded, his tail thrashing behind him. "Simple," Morrison replied. "If we lose, humanity withdraws from the Galactic Council and accepts junior status in galactic affairs. If we win, the Rextari Empire publicly acknowledges the equality of all genders in military and political matters." The chamber buzzed with excitement. The Rextari had never lost a combat trial, their warrior culture producing some of the galaxy's most feared fighters. Their technology was formidable, their tactics refined through centuries of conquest. 3 days later, the trials began on the neutral world of Nexus Prime. The first challenge was individual combat. Admiral Koss selected his champion, Commander Thrak, a massive Rextari warrior standing nearly 3 meters tall, his scales bearing the scars of 100 battles. Morrison stepped into the arena herself, drawing murmurs of disbelief from the assembled crowd. At 62 years old and barely half Thrak's size, she seemed laughably outmatched. The combat lasted exactly 47 seconds. Morrison's movements were economical, precise, and absolutely ruthless. She used Thrak's size and aggression against him, redirecting his charges and strikes with techniques refined in combat zones across human space. When the Rextari champion finally fell, unconscious but alive, the arena fell silent. The second trial tested tactical acumen. Captain Rodriguez faced off against the Rextari's finest strategic mind in a holographic war simulation. The scenario: defend a mining colony against overwhelming odds with limited resources. Rodriguez studied the parameters for 30 minutes, then implemented a defense that centered on mobility, deception, and psychological warfare. She turned the attacking force's aggression into a liability, using feints and false retreats to fragment their formations. When the simulation ended, the Rextari fleet existed only as debris fields. The final challenge involved technological innovation. The task: design a solution to breach an impenetrable energy shield using available materials. Ambassador Thompson approached the problem differently than expected. Instead of focusing on raw power or exotic technology, she analyzed the shield's harmonic frequency and created a resonance cascade using 3 outdated mining lasers, synchronized through her personal communication device. The shield collapsed in minutes. Admiral Koss stood before the assembled crowd, his posture defeated. The trials had been broadcast across the galaxy. watched by trillions of beings. The Rextari's reputation for invincibility lay in ruins. How? He asked quietly, approaching the human delegation as the crowd began to disperse. General Morrison clasped her hands behind her back. You made an assumption, Admiral. You assumed that because our society values equality, our women must be weak. You forgot that equality means we've been training for the same fights, facing the same dangers, and solving the same problems as our male counterparts for generations. Ambassador Thompson added, You also assumed that physical strength determines combat effectiveness. Human women have been proving that assumption wrong for centuries. Captain Rodriguez smiled grimly. And you assumed that aggression and honor were more valuable than adaptability and intelligence. Your warriors fight well, Admiral, but they fight predictably. The aftermath of the trials rippled through galactic society. The Rextari Empire, true to their word, issued a formal acknowledgement of gender equality in military and political affairs. More importantly, they began integrating their own females into combat and leadership roles for the first time in their history. Other species took notice. The insectoid hive began promoting their female generals. The Volari started sending mixed-gender, diplomatic teams. Even the proud warrior clans of the Korthari began questioning their male-dominated hierarchies. But perhaps the most significant change was the new addition to the Galactic Council's unofficial handbook, written in every major language and distributed to all member species. Rule number 1. Never underestimate Earth's humans. Rule number 2. Especially never underestimate their women. Rule number 3. If you challenge them anyway, make sure your medical insurance is paid up. The human delegation returned to Earth to a hero's welcome, but they had accomplished something far greater than personal glory. They had opened minds across the galaxy and challenged assumptions that had persisted for millennia. In the years that followed, human women served with distinction in every corner of galactic space, as diplomats, soldiers, scientists, and explorers. And whenever someone questioned their presence or capability, veteran spacers would simply shake their heads and mutter, "Remember the Rextari trials." The galaxy had learned its lesson, and it learned it well.